Okay, hey friends, we are live and thank you for joining us today. We are in for a very special treat. I met Erika in Mexico on the recent ACN incentive trip, which you got to be on these trips. They're life changing. But Erika, I saw her, just right, on the chart. She was number one, number one, number one. For a second, our team was number one. And then I'm like, who knocked us off? Who's this trailblazer? And I'm like, Erika, wow. And so I couldn't wait to meet her in Mexico. But guys, you have got to hear her story and you've got to hear what she's doing to acquire, their team is acquiring customers by the dozens and the hundreds of, and that's what propelled her to RVP. So she's ACN's most recent RVP. So give her a very special round of applause. For those of you who are going to Baltimore, you're going to hear her amazing story from stage. So Erika, thank you for giving us your time today. We're so excited to hear your story and just learn. I know you are, you found a niche you're specializing in, and it's adding so much value and your team's on fire. So thank you for giving us this time today. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, oh my goodness. I love you guys. You and Shayna are amazing. So I have to give it back to you. Mexico was awesome. So like he said, anybody that can be on these trips, they are truly life-changing. Guys, when I got started in ACN, I was not looking for anything. And that's the crazy thing about this is sometimes people really aren't looking and don't realize what they need until they see it. And so I saw this opportunity strictly because I wanted somebody to leave me alone about the business. They kept asking me. And I'm like, listen, if I see what you have, will you stop bothering me about it? And she was like, yes. I was like, great. So I was working full time. I loved my job. I worked for NASA, so it was a great job. I was in school full time. I actually wanted to be a doctor in radiation oncology. And then I have my two kids. They're both boys, so they're about a job and a half apiece. And then I also took care of my dad full time. So I had so much on my plate. So adding something was not even in the cards until I saw ACN. And I immediately fell in love with this opportunity because what is there not to love, right? We literally help people every single day, whether it's on the paying side or the get paid side. That's all we do is we help people. And I told you I was going to school to be a doctor in radiation oncology. So all I've ever wanted to do is help people. Okay. So I saw this, and instead of it being, okay, leave me alone now, it was, I'm ready to join. And so I joined on March 27th of 2020. And if anybody remembers that time, which everybody does, prime COVID. Okay. Everything was shutting down, grocery stores, gas stations. It was hard to even go in the gas station because everything was shutting down. And so when I started this opportunity, I will say the one piece of advice I can give to you is when we talk about ACN, guys, it is awesome because we're able to give our customers these awesome services at a wholesale discounted price, right? And the reason for that is because of advertising. They spend all this money on advertising and we don't. So what I can tell you guys is you have the ability to grow a free advertising database. Okay. So when I got started, I had no choice. I had to figure out how to utilize Facebook, how to utilize all the different social media platforms, because I can tell you when I first started, I didn't utilize social media very often. Okay. I had like 250 friends on my Facebook. I didn't use it. I posted pictures of my kids. I updated people about the family. That was it. Okay. But once I started this opportunity, I couldn't talk to people in person. So what I realized over the years is the same thing that these big name companies are paying millions of dollars for to get their name out there. We have the ability to advertise to 5,000 people at one time on Facebook, okay, for free. That's the beauty of that. It's free to advertise what we're trying to help people accomplish. Okay. So my first bit of advice is to grow your social media. Okay. Because social media is just an added bonus to meeting with people in person, which I will say meeting people in person is the best way to do business. But social media, you can talk to people from anywhere. Okay. So I definitely say utilize social media. When you help a customer save money on their utility bills, make sure that you're asking them to support you and refer you and write something about you on their Facebook. Because now what that's doing, guys, is that's reaching 700, 1,000 people on Facebook that you didn't have the ability to reach before. And I can tell you, I have about 250 personal customers. Okay. I would say 90% of those customers came from social media because that's how I built my business. I had no other choice. Okay. So I definitely say utilize social media. And that is my first bit of advice. My second bit of advice is you have to figure out what your target audience is. Okay. So for me, and this can be utilized for anybody, whether you're in a state where you can do gas or electric or not, it does not matter because we all can agree that gas and electric is one of the number one things we do. It just is. Everybody gets a gas and electric bill. Everybody has to pay it. Okay. So why not help people save on it? Now, if we're going back to Facebook, guys, you don't just add people from your state. Let's say you're in a state that can't do gas and electric. Start building your Facebook and base it off of those states that we can do gas and electric, right? Because that's the great thing about Facebook. We also have this awesome technology called Google, and it's amazing, right? So you can find anything off of Google. So the reason why I'm saying that is because of this. When it came to my RVP run, guys, one of the things that I love doing is I love working with property managers. Okay. Some people are familiar with property managers, some people are not. I was very familiar because my fiance, he runs a property management company. So they are actually in charge of about 1,500 units. They have about 28 buildings. So, I kind of used him as my test dummy when I started, right? And I was like, we're going to save you guys some money. And he didn't really have a choice because, he's engaged to me. So he had no choice. So we ended up doing all of their gas and electric bills. Okay. Now, with property management, guys, a lot of times, the property manager will come back and say, well, we are in charge of the gas and electric for the tenants. That's very common. Okay. But here's the thing. If you're talking about a building or even, an 8-unit property, okay, chances are they have hallways, they have garages, they have light poles, they have common areas. So even if they aren't responsible for the tenants, they're responsible for that. Now, when you're talking about property managers, the most important thing to them is saving money for their owners. That's why they were hired, to save money for their owners without dropping the quality of service. Now, we all know becoming a Zoom customer doesn't change anything about the customer's bill. It just gets them a better rate. So there's no issues with quality. Okay. So when you're talking to a property manager, what I say, guys, is very simple. If I could help you find a way to save money for your owner, you could go to your owner and look like a hero and say, hey, we can save a percentage. Would you do it? And they're going to be like, absolutely. Okay. So all you have to do is let them know the numbers, because I can tell you a lot of times, and Melissa is very big about this, and I have really taken this in, is, I don't sell people on rates. I sell people on why I'm doing this. With property managers, it is a little bit different because they are working to please somebody else. And when it comes to the owners, they want to know numbers. They want to know, how is this going to benefit their pockets? Okay. So if you can give them an idea of savings, that's how you are going to get that customer. So let's say, for instance, you talk to a property manager and one of their bills is at $7.49 a unit, and our rate is $4.20 a unit, you can tell them, hey, on this bill, you would have saved X amount of dollars. Obviously, we cannot guarantee savings in the future, but with that bill, you can give them exact savings. Now, imagine being that property manager, okay, who someone else is depending on you to save them money, going to your owner, sending them an email and saying, hey, on this one bill, I could have saved you $525 this month. Would you or would you not take that offer? Right? That's going to catch their eye. And that's what you have to do with property managers. So property management is awesome because all they care about is pleasing people. Okay, whether it's their investors, their property owners, or their tenants. Okay, so another thing you can do for those property managers who their tenants pay their gas and electric bill, you tell them, hey, do you want to get great reviews from your tenants and let them know you truly care? You can send them a link and say, here, offer this savings to them. They can schedule a meeting with me and we can get on Zoom and go over their utility bills together. And then what's going to happen is they're going to turn around and they're going to be so thankful that their property manager cared enough to allow them these savings when a lot of property managers don't care. Okay, so what does that mean for that property manager? Less turnover. Okay, it means that they're more likely to pay their bills because now they're lowering their gas and electric bill. So their lease payments will hopefully be on time, right? So it helps that property manager anyways. So even if they aren't in charge of paying the gas and electric, you say, hey, don't worry. And that also gives you the in to talk to them about the business. So here's what I tell my property managers. I always offer the business aspect of things after I show them the savings. And here's why I do that. Because I say, here's your savings. Now, you're already responsible for paying these bills, right? These bills are going to come every single month regardless. So why don't you make some money on them? I can't ethically and morally not tell you about this opportunity. So you're paying out X amount of dollars a month for your utility bills. Imagine making up to 20% back on all of those utility bills that you're already paying, right? So that is your perfect way to get them as a business partner because you've already shown them how much money you're going to save. They're going to save. Now you can just put the icing on the cake and be like, hey, how about you make some money off of these bills? And then chances are, guys, they may go talk to their owners. And a lot of times, and I can just tell you this from past experience, their owners don't just stick with one property management company. A lot of times they divvy their properties up between different companies. Okay. So what that means is they're going to go to their owner. Okay. Because a lot of times the property manager is going to let the owner know what he was offered. And then sometimes the owner gets in and then they get the property manager in because now they're both making a cut of it. Right. And then they're going to get all of their other buildings on board that are with other companies, which then opens the door to those property managers. And then guess what, guys? Those property managers don't just work with that investor. They work with other property owners and investors that now you can do the same thing. And it's kind of just a cycle where you're helping one person save money. Then you're letting them know, hey, I'm saving you money. How about you make some money as well, which is just more money back in your pocket. And then you do the same thing with the next property management company. And I can tell you, property managers only know property managers. Okay. So crazy story. I was helping this guy. So he was referred to me by a huge investor here in Cleveland. Okay. He actually, if you've ever been to Cleveland, we have a huge key bank tower downtown. He actually was the one that sold that key bank tower. So he's a huge investor. So he gives me the names of these two guys who it's a mom or a dad and son team, and they own a bunch of properties around Cleveland. And so we met for lunch. So prior to this, I have a business partner who got in the system. He owns about, I think it was like 150 utility bills we did. Okay. So 300 points in the system right then and there. And we ended up, talking to his property management company. So I met with these other owners for lunch, and we're talking, and they're like, we have to go meet with our property manager right after this meeting across the street. And somehow the property manager got brought up. And that property manager is the same property manager I was working with on this other deal. So I was like, oh yeah, I know him. He's awesome. So because they knew him and they both, he had already done business with me, they were like, well, absolutely, we're going to go with you. Because clearly, if our property manager has already done business with you, he knows how to work with you. And so he became a customer. So, I definitely say, if you can get into property management, which brings me back to my Google statement, okay, if you are not in a gas and electric state, okay, go to Google. You can literally find thousands of property management companies. So let's say you want to take over, Southern Ohio. Go to Google, type in property management companies in Columbus, Ohio, and you will get a whole list of them. Okay. If you are in a state where you can do gas and electric, there are apartment associations. So I am actually part of an apartment association in Northern Ohio. And I'm a guest speaker Friday. So everybody's going to hear what I do. I also have a golf outing for them on Monday. So I get to be around all these property managers next Monday while they're all drinking. So they're going to be extra, willing to talk to me. So, that's just the type of things we do. Right. And so I would have never found that company had I not looked and said, well, property managers, there's a lot of potential there. And so I definitely say, look at what is in your area, look at what you have, on Google. And if you're not in a deregulated state, just look in a regulated or in a deregulated state. Google property management companies, pick a city, do it. People all the time, they decide where they're going to travel and they put pins wherever they've gone. Do that, but with cities that you've talked to about property management. Okay. And all the time when you go on their websites, there's a contact form or there's an email address. Send them an email. Introduce yourself. Ask if there's a good time that you guys can get on the phone and you can let them know how you can potentially help them. Okay. And if they say no, listen, we're used to no's, right? It happens all the time. But here's the crazy thing. One property management company that says yes can get you to RVP. One property management company that says yes could change your entire business. Okay. So it's not like single customers where, it's a point or two, right? This is a customer that could bring you 350 points, 400 points, 600 points. Okay. And it could change everything. So even if you make 30 phone calls, all it takes is one person. And then guess what? They know other property managers. So once you have one person in the door, who do you know? What other property managers do you know? What other owners or investors do you know? And all you do from there is you just continue to get referrals and you continue to expand. And guys, listen, when you're doing property management, it is so easy because all you do is have to submit a multi-location form. Okay. So literally all you do is you put all of the bills into a spreadsheet, you send it over to Zoom, and they take care of everything. Okay. So it is so easy to get done and they are cleared incredibly fast. So it's not a lengthy process. So I definitely say, see where you can go with that. And it could really, really change your business, because that's what got me to RVP. It was literally just talking to a couple people, and listen, I found myself in some weird situations. Okay. One guy, I was talking to him, and he works with this guy who owns properties. And he was like, okay, you can meet me at the funeral home. I'm like, at the funeral home? So I literally met this guy, and we met and had our meeting in the basement of the funeral home. Okay. Very strange, but he has a lot of buildings. So sometimes you have to go out. So now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, there's so many funeral homes and they have payment processing. Do you know how expensive funerals are? Like, listen, this just got me onto a whole nother thing, because funeral homes aren't going anywhere, right? That's one business, just like our business. There's always going to be funeral homes, right? So funeral homes, I mean, guys, when I paid for my dad's funeral, it was 10 grand, $10,000 for a very simple funeral. So imagine, and I can say this now because it's been, 3 years since my dad passed away, but imagine if I would have had payment processing with the funeral home that my dad was at, I would have made 20% back on what I paid out for my dad's funeral. Right? So it sounds crazy, and it sounds, a little bit weird, but, something like that could change your life. Right now, we're in the middle of planning our wedding. I'm getting married in September, and we are talking to DJs and all these other people. And I'm like, well, listen, I'm a firm believer. I will not do business with anybody who doesn't do business with me. Okay. And if you guys do business with anybody, if they are not your customer, you better not be paying for their services if they're not your customer. Okay. Because guess what? To be our customer, it is completely free to save money on your gas and electric bill. It is completely free to get a comparison on payment processing. Okay. So you should not be supporting anybody who doesn't support you. So I was, talking to this DJ, and I was like, I get it. My hours are crazy. I own my own business. He goes, oh, what do you do? So I started going into it, and I started with payment processing, because when you're talking about DJs, they cost a lot of money, like 3 grand, right? For like 6 hours. It's insane. So people aren't typically paying for DJs in cash. What do they pay with? Credit or debit cards. They send invoices. So I tell this guy, I said, hey, listen, I only do business with people who do business with me. So we would love to potentially hire you as our DJ for our wedding, but you have to see if I can help you save money on your payment processing, because I saw on their website, they add a 5% charge if you pay with credit card. Okay. So that brought up conversation. This DJ does 500 grand in credit card sales a year. Okay. So obviously I'm going to keep my word. 3 grand is a lot of money for a DJ, but if he supports me, I'm making 20% back on what I'm spending on my DJ. So it'll work out in the end anyways. So you have to look at all of your options, and don't count anybody out, because everybody is looking to save money. My videographer for the wedding, I said, hey, she told me she loves helping people. She's given me a really good deal on videography. So I said, hey, we have a call tonight at 7:30. You love helping people, so you would love my business. Do you look at other ways of making money? And she said, absolutely. Always. She's getting on my call tonight. After she gets on the call, I will sign the contract and she'll become our videographer. Okay. So you have to kind of utilize that to your advantage, and always remember, if they're a business owner, they're looking to save money on overhead costs. Okay. Property managers are always looking to save money, because that's how they secure their job. That's how they secure keeping the portfolio of that investor or of that property owner. Okay. So all I can tell you guys is just keep going, because I thought RVP was never going to happen. I really did. And it went from having 2,300 customers to 3,400 customers. So it was very crazy. And, I've been through it, and you guys will hear, my story in Baltimore, but there were a lot of obstacles. And the one thing I can say is don't make excuses. If you haven't signed up for Baltimore yet, register for Baltimore. Because listen, Baltimore is going to be life-changing. It really is. Baltimore is going to be phenomenal. Okay. Any international event, any event in general is going to be life-changing. I have driven 4 hours to an event. And then right after the event, I turned around and drove 4 hours back so I didn't miss my 12-year-old's baseball game. Okay. 8 hours in the car for an hour and a half event. But it was totally worth it. Okay. So whatever you have to do to get to that event, get to that event. Okay. And I cannot wait to see everybody there. I was so excited that, Joe asked me to be on this call. It's an honor. And so that is all I have. Joe, do you want me to touch on anything else?
No, that was so much value. I know you have a call here in 2 minutes. I would ask a couple questions, but yeah, I know your time is limited. But that was truly amazing. Like, I'm going to go back, listen to this, take notes. Everyone, let's give her a virtual round of applause. Shout out, Erika. Woohoo! That was so much value, Erika. Like, I've been doing this for almost 12 years. I don't think there's been a single specific training that tells people exactly what to do, like gives people the recipe and the ingredients and instructions. Like, I don't think there's ever been something as powerful as this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I hope, the rest of Disney is great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night.